My name is Meghan Sussex now. Call me Meghan Markle one more time, Mindy f***ing Kaling.
And I felt, you're losing people every single time you have those headlines. We all get that there's a really big urgent message.
For years, Prince Harry has faced relentless scrutiny. But nothing unsettles the public quite like questions surrounding his children. During a tense moment, royal biographer Angela Levin dropped a cryptic revelation about Archie and Lilibet, one that reportedly left Harry completely speechless. It wasn't just what she said, but how she said it that sparked a storm of speculation. Was this a harmless remark, or a carefully veiled truth? What exactly does Levin know that the public doesn't? And do you really believe Prince Harry would revisit his decision to uphold a private life for Archie and Lilibet? Let us know in the comments. To help us create more videos and reveal the real world, please subscribe so more people can discover this. A 1,000-year crown facing a new kind of threat. For centuries, the British monarchy has stood as one of the most enduring institutions in the world. It has survived wars that reshaped nations, scandals that dominated headlines, revolutions that toppled other royal houses, and waves of public opinion that rose and fell with time. Through all of this, the crown has shown a remarkable ability to adapt, to recover, and to maintain a sense of stability even in moments of crisis. Time and again, it has faced storms that seemed capable of breaking it, yet it endured. In 2026, the monarchy faces a different kind of challenge: quiet, subtle, and steadily growing rather than dramatic or explosive. This ongoing pressure is shaping public perception and creating a lingering sense of unease. At its core is a powerful question about legitimacy, tradition, and trust, the very foundations of the institution. Unlike past crises, this one unfolds gradually through conversations and public opinion. Unexpectedly, the focus of this tension has shifted toward Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, placing them at the center of a broader debate about the monarchy's future. What started years ago as scattered online speculation, discussions confined to small corners of the internet, has slowly grown into something much larger. It has moved beyond whispers and isolated opinions. Today, it is part of a wider, more serious conversation. People are no longer simply asking questions out of curiosity. They are examining the monarchy itself, asking how it maintains credibility in a world that demands transparency and accountability. This shift is significant. In the past, the monarchy could rely on tradition, distance, and a certain level of mystery to protect its image. Questions could be ignored. Controversies could fade with time. But today's world is different. Information moves quickly. Public interest does not disappear as easily. And once a narrative begins to take hold, it can be difficult to control. What makes this moment particularly challenging is that it is not centered on a single event that can be addressed or resolved. Instead, it is an ongoing situation, one that continues to evolve. Each new discussion, each new perspective, adds another layer to the story. And this is where the real tension lies. Because this is no longer just a story about individuals or personal choices. It is about an institution built on continuity, on the idea that it represents something stable, something unchanging in a rapidly shifting world. When questions begin to arise that challenge that sense of stability, the impact goes far beyond any one person. For the monarchy, perception is everything. It relies not only on history and tradition, but also on public trust. And trust, once questioned, can be difficult to fully restore. Even the suggestion of uncertainty can create ripples that spread far wider than expected. That is why this moment feels so different. There is no clear endpoint, no obvious resolution. The questions being asked are not easily dismissed, nor can they simply be answered in a single statement. They touch on deeper issues about identity, about authenticity, and about how an ancient institution fits into a modern world that increasingly demands openness. For the first time in a long while, the crown appears to be facing a challenge that cannot simply be ignored or waited out. It is not a passing storm that will blow over with time. It is a slow-burning test, one that requires more than silence or tradition to withstand. And as the conversation continues to grow, one thing becomes increasingly clear. The monarchy is not just being observed, it is being examined, particularly about the personal life of the spare who bowed out of royal duties. What is the current situation with Harry and Meghan? How has their journey been like? Let's delve into the details of the changing perception of the Sussexes. Silence that speaks. In the early months of 2026, a quiet moment passed that spoke louder than any headline. The wedding anniversary of Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, came and went, almost unnoticed. There were no public messages from King Charles III, no visible acknowledgement from Prince William, Prince of Wales, or Catherine, Princess of Wales, and perhaps most surprising of all, no clear or celebratory gesture from the couple themselves. At first glance, it might have seemed like a deliberate choice for privacy, but to many observers, the silence felt heavier than that. It did not feel warm or intentional. It felt distant. It hinted at something unspoken, something that words might only complicate. Harry and Meghan's relationship once captivated the world, seen as a modern fairy tale blending tradition and individuality. Every moment drew global excitement and emotional investment. However, over time, that fascination has shifted. Rather than strong admiration or criticism, public interest now seems to be fading into something quieter and more complex: indifference. Unlike praise or outrage, indifference is subtle. It doesn't react loudly, but instead gradually turns away. The couple has continued to make public appearances, participate in global conversations, and pursue media and philanthropic projects. Yet, the tone surrounding these efforts seems to have shifted. Without the formal structure and authority that once came with their royal roles, these appearances can feel different. To some, they resemble carefully crafted moments rather than natural extensions of duty. It is not necessarily a question of intention, but of perception. When there is no official framework behind public actions, the line between purpose and presentation can become blurred. Meanwhile, the monarchy itself appears to be undergoing its own transformation. Under the leadership of King Charles III, the institution seems more focused, more deliberate, and perhaps more protective of its identity. The handling of situations involving figures like Prince Andrew, Duke of York, has signaled a clear message. Royal status is no longer something that exists without conditions. It must be aligned with responsibility, conduct, and the expectations of the institution. This shift reflects a monarchy that is adapting, tightening its structure, clarifying its boundaries, and reducing the space for ambiguity. In such an environment, positioning becomes everything. And for Harry and Meghan, that positioning has grown increasingly complex. They are no longer working royals, yet they remain globally recognized figures closely tied to the institution they stepped away from. They exist in a space that is neither fully inside nor entirely outside, a space that offers visibility, but not always clarity. This in-between status creates its own set of challenges. Without official roles, their influence depends largely on public engagement and personal initiatives. But without the consistent backing of the monarchy, that influence can feel less anchored. The silence surrounding their anniversary, then, becomes more than just a missed moment. It becomes symbolic, a quiet reflection of shifting relationships, evolving identities, and the realities of choices made over time. It raises subtle but important questions. What does connection look like when distance has grown? What does relevance mean when the foundation that once supported it has changed? And how does a story continue when its original setting has been left behind? For Harry and Meghan, the journey has always been about redefining their path. But as the monarchy becomes more structured and the public gaze becomes less intense, the challenge may no longer be about stepping away. It may be about finding a new place to stand. And sometimes, the loudest indication of change is not conflict or announcement. It is silence. What seems to be Harry's reason for preferring a private life? How does this affect the tradition? Could the innocent children be excluded unknowingly in the name of privacy? Let's dive into the details of where the tension truly lies. Tradition versus privacy. For centuries, royal births were never treated as purely private family moments. They followed clearly defined public customs. These practices were not just about ceremony or spectacle. They played a deeper role in maintaining national confidence. In a monarchy, where the line of succession determines stability, the public has historically been given reassurance that everything is clear, legitimate, and beyond question. In earlier royal generations, transparency was clear and consistent. When Diana, Princess of Wales, and later Catherine, Princess of Wales, gave birth, brief public appearances outside hospitals symbolized openness, continuity, and connection with the public. However, a shift occurred with Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Following the births of Prince Archie of Sussex and Princess Lilibet of Sussex, they chose a more private approach, limiting details and delaying appearances, marking a clear departure from long-standing royal tradition and altering expectations of public engagement. For many, this decision was understandable. In a modern world where public figures are constantly under scrutiny, the desire to protect personal moments, especially something as intimate as childbirth, felt reasonable, even necessary. Supporters saw it as a step toward redefining boundaries and reclaiming a sense of normalcy. However, not everyone viewed it that way. For others, this departure from tradition raised questions. In a system built on clarity and continuity, even small gaps in information can lead to uncertainty. The royal family, unlike ordinary families, operates within a framework where public trust is essential. When long-standing practices are altered, it can create a sense that something is missing, even if there is no wrongdoing involved. Over time, that sense of uncertainty has grown. In the absence of detailed public information, speculation naturally begins to fill the space. Some of these questions are rooted in genuine curiosity about how modern royal life is evolving. Others, however, drift into rumor and assumption. Commentators such as Angela Levin have brought these concerns into wider public discussion, highlighting what they see as inconsistencies or unanswered questions. While no claims have been substantiated with concrete evidence, the continued attention shows how strongly people feel about the issue. But beneath the headlines and debates lies a deeper, more important reality. This is not just about one couple or one set of decisions. It reflects a broader tension between tradition and change. On one hand, there is a system built over centuries, where visibility and openness serve a clear purpose. On the other hand, there is a modern understanding of personal boundaries, mental well-being, and the right to keep certain moments private. The challenge arises when these two worlds collide. When transparency is reduced, even for valid reasons, it can unintentionally weaken the sense of certainty that the public relies on. And in that uncertainty, trust can become fragile. Not necessarily broken, but more easily shaken. At the same time, insisting on complete openness in every aspect of royal life may no longer align with contemporary values. Society has changed, and expectations around privacy have evolved. Public figures, including members of the royal family, are increasingly asserting their right to control their own narratives. This leaves the monarchy at a crossroads. How does it preserve the traditions that have sustained it for generations while adapting to a world that values individuality and privacy more than ever before? How does it remain transparent enough to maintain trust, yet flexible enough to respect personal boundaries? There are no simple answers. What is clear, however, is that every decision, whether to share or to withhold, carries consequences. In a system where perception matters as much as reality, even well-intentioned choices can spark debate. And so, the conversation continues. Not just about what was done or not done, but about what the future of royal life should look like. and whether trust can be maintained in a world where tradition and privacy are no longer easily aligned. How has Harry's decision to exit the monarchy affected his children? Do they have any established connections with other royals? Let's find out. Separated by more than distance. As Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, approaches a major milestone, his 40th birthday on September 15th, the occasion is being overshadowed by deeper concerns about family, distance, and what the future may hold for his children. What should be a moment of celebration has instead sparked renewed conversations about the long-standing divide between Harry and the British royal family, and more importantly, how that divide could shape the lives of the next generation. At the center of this concern are his two young children, Prince Archie of Sussex and Princess Lilibet of Sussex, who have spent the majority of their lives far from the traditions, relationships, and shared experiences that define royal family life. Raised in Montecito, California, their upbringing has been markedly different from that of their royal cousins in the United Kingdom. Royal commentator Lydia Alty has raised concerns that this physical and emotional distance could come at a cost. According to her, the children may have little to no connection with much of their extended family on their father's side. Their interactions, she suggests, may be largely limited to the maternal side of the family, particularly relatives connected to Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. This situation, Alty warns, could mean that Archie and Lilibet grow up without meaningful relationships with key members of the royal family, figures such as their grandfather, King Charles III, their uncle Prince William, Prince of Wales, and their Aunt Catherine, Princess of Wales. Even connections with their cousins, including Prince George of Wales, may remain distant or non-existent. From a psychological and emotional standpoint, such a separation can be significant. Family bonds, especially during childhood, play a crucial role in shaping identity, belonging, and emotional security. Growing up without access to extended family relationships may limit the children's understanding of their heritage and reduce opportunities for shared memories that often strengthen family ties. Alty further suggests that if the ongoing tensions between Harry and the royal family continue, the gap may only widen. The longer the separation lasts, the harder it may become to rebuild those connections. Relationships that are not nurtured over time can gradually fade, making reconciliation more difficult, not just for Harry, but for his children as well. Adding to the sense of distance is the likelihood that Harry's upcoming birthday will not include any form of reunion with his immediate family in the UK. Celebrations that might once have brought the family together, moments filled with shared laughter, reflection, and unity, are now expected to take place separately. For the younger generation of royals, this means more than just missing a party. It represents the loss of shared experiences, those seemingly small but meaningful moments that help build lasting family connections. Birthdays, holidays, and gatherings are often where bonds are strengthened, stories are shared, and traditions are passed down. Without these moments, a sense of disconnect can quietly grow over time. The roots of this situation trace back to 2020, when Harry and Meghan made the decision to step back from their roles as senior working royals. That decision, while presented as a move toward independence and personal well-being, marked the beginning of a significant shift in family dynamics. What followed were public interviews, media attention, and ongoing tensions that have yet to fully resolve. Today, as Harry stands on the threshold of a new decade in his life, the focus is no longer solely on his personal journey. Increasingly, attention is turning toward the impact of these choices on his children, their relationships, their sense of identity, and the experiences they may miss. In the end, this is not just a story about royal disagreement or public perception. It is a deeply human story about family, distance, and the quiet ways in which unresolved conflicts can echo into the lives of the next generation. What are the legal consequences of Harry's decision? How does it affect the monarchy? Let's dig into the details of the future of the crown. The rising stakes. What makes the current situation especially important is that it has moved far beyond public opinion or media narratives. It is no longer just about how people feel or what they believe. It now carries the possibility of real legal and constitutional consequences. What began as a personal and family issue has gradually evolved into something much larger, raising questions about the structure, rules, and future of the monarchy itself. One of the clearest signs of this shift is the renewed attention on the Titles Deprivation Act 1917. This piece of legislation, originally created during a time of war, allowed the British government to remove royal titles from individuals whose actions were seen as going against national interests. For many years, it remained largely a historical reference point. However, recent discussions suggest that it may no longer be viewed as just a relic of the past. Observers and commentators have begun to ask whether royal titles should be more closely tied to constitutional responsibility rather than tradition alone. In other words, should holding a royal title come with clear expectations and consequences if those expectations are not met? While no formal steps have been taken, the fact that such conversations are gaining attention indicates a deeper change. It shows that the monarchy is increasingly being examined not just as a symbol of heritage, but as an institution that must operate within defined legal boundaries. This marks a subtle but important transformation. For centuries, the monarchy has relied heavily on tradition, custom, and unwritten rules. Now, there appears to be a growing emphasis on clarity, accountability, and structure. It is no longer enough for the institution to function based solely on long-standing practices. There is a rising expectation that its actions should be clearly justified within a modern constitutional framework. At the center of this delicate and evolving situation is King Charles III, who faces one of the most complex roles imaginable. He is not only the head of the monarchy but also a father. On one hand, his relationship with his son, Prince Harry, is deeply personal, shaped by years of shared history, emotion, and family bonds. On the other hand, his responsibilities as king require him to protect the stability, dignity, and credibility of the crown. These two roles, father and monarch, do not always align easily. What may feel right on a personal level may not necessarily serve the best interests of the institution. Likewise, decisions made to preserve the monarchy's image could carry emotional consequences within the family. This creates a tension that is difficult to resolve, as every choice carries both personal and public implications. What makes the situation even more challenging is that inaction can be just as powerful as action. Choosing not to intervene, not to clarify, or not to respond can also send a message, one that may be interpreted in many different ways by the public, the media, and political observers. In today's world, where every development is analyzed instantly and continuously, silence itself can shape perception. The stakes, therefore, extend far beyond individual relationships. They touch on the future of the monarchy as an institution. How it responds, or chooses not to respond, could influence how it is viewed by the public for years to come. Trust, once weakened, is not easily restored, and the monarchy depends heavily on public confidence to maintain its relevance and authority. This is what transforms the situation from a private family matter into a broader constitutional moment. It is no longer just about resolving personal differences or managing public image. It has become a test, one that examines how the monarchy balances compassion with duty, tradition with modern expectations, and personal relationships with institutional responsibility. In an era defined by constant scrutiny, where information spreads rapidly and opinions form instantly, the monarchy cannot rely solely on its past. It must navigate the present with care and foresight. Every decision, every statement, and even every silence contributes to a larger narrative about what the institution represents today. Ultimately, this moment highlights a deeper question. How can an ancient institution adapt to a modern world without losing its identity? The answer will not come easily. But the way this situation unfolds may offer a powerful glimpse into the future of the monarchy, one shaped not just by history, but by law, accountability, and the expectations of a watchful global audience. What kind of future awaits the innocent children? Are their parents truly protecting or excluding them? Let's delve into the details of the line between perception and reality. A story still unfolding. As 2026 unfolds, one reality is becoming harder to ignore. This story is not ending anytime soon. If anything, it is entering a new and more defining phase. What once appeared to be a series of isolated headlines has now grown into a much larger narrative, one that continues to evolve with each passing moment. The questions it raises are no longer temporary or superficial. They are deep, lasting, and impossible to dismiss. At the heart of it all are questions that feel as old as history itself, yet incredibly relevant today. Can an institution built on centuries of tradition truly adapt to the fast-changing expectations of the modern world? Can a life lived in the public eye ever allow for genuine privacy? And perhaps most importantly, how much pressure can a system built on stability endure before cracks begin to show? These are not just abstract ideas. They are playing out in real time, affecting real people. Beyond the noise of headlines, opinions, and endless speculation lies a deeply human story, one that often gets overlooked. At the center of it are two young children, Prince Archie of Sussex and Princess Lilibet of Sussex. They did not choose this spotlight, yet they are growing up within it. Their names are discussed, their lives analyzed, and their future debated by people across the world. In many ways, they represent innocence placed in the middle of a conversation far bigger than themselves. For Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, this moment reflects something deeply personal, a lifelong tension between two powerful forces. On one side is his desire to protect his family, to shield them from the kind of scrutiny that shaped his own upbringing. On the other is the reality of his public role, a position that has never truly allowed him to step away from the spotlight. This conflict is not new, but it has become more visible and more intense in recent years. For Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, the situation presents a different kind of challenge. Hers is a journey of identity, of balancing who she is as an individual with how she is perceived by the world. Navigating global attention is no simple task. Every word, every action, every decision is examined, interpreted, and often misunderstood. Maintaining authenticity in such an environment requires strength, patience, and resilience. But this story is not only about individuals. It is also about the institution they are connected to, the monarchy itself. For the royal family, this moment feels like a test, not just of image, but of relevance. The monarchy has long been built on tradition, structure, and a sense of continuity. These qualities have given it stability over generations. Yet the modern world demands something more: transparency, adaptability, and a willingness to evolve. The challenge lies in finding a balance between these two realities. Too much change risks losing the identity that defines the institution. Too little change risks becoming disconnected from the world it serves. And this is where the true weight of the moment lies. Because in the end, the strength of the crown has never depended solely on its past. History may provide its foundation, but it is the response to present challenges that determines its future. The ability to face uncertainty with honesty, to respond to criticism with clarity, and to adapt without losing core values. These are the qualities that will define what comes next. The world, meanwhile, continues to watch closely, not simply for moments of drama or controversy, but for something deeper, for direction. People are looking for signs of stability, of leadership, of a path forward that makes sense in a changing world. And what happens next will matter. It will shape not only how individuals are perceived, but how the monarchy itself is understood in the years to come. It will influence whether it is seen as an institution capable of growth or one struggling to keep up with the times. This is no longer just a story about a family. It is about legacy, identity, and the future of a centuries-old institution standing at a crossroads. And as the next chapter unfolds, one thing remains certain. The choices made now will echo far beyond the present moment, defining not just reputations, but the direction of the monarchy for generations to come. So, what do you think about Harry's position on Archie and Lilibet? Do you think they are being protected or excluded? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.